Are you tired of the marketing guessing game? Does your website feel more like a digital billboard than a client magnet? If you're nodding along, you're not alone. And it's time to stop the uncertainty and start getting real results. Let's talk about your marketing spend. Are you just shelling out money every month and crossing your fingers? Do you ever wonder what impact your marketing is really having on your revenue? Well, it's time to take the guesswork out of the equation with Rise Up Media. We've been working with them for over a year, and the feedback from our fellow members has been fantastic. Rise Up Media is here to take your marketing to the next level. They'll even perform a full audit of your online presence, giving you the good, the bad, and even let you in on what your competition is up to that you're missing out on. And the best part, there's no obligation, no catch, no pressure. If you decide to work with them, their contracts are month to month. That's right. No long-term commitments tying you down. So what are you waiting for? To learn more about how Rise Up Media can transform your firms, visit riseupmedia.com/maxlaw, and Rise is spelled with a Z. riseupmedia.com/maxlaw.
This is Maximum Lawyer with your host, Tyson Mutrix.
So, Alycia, in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is a failure. In a busy marketplace, not standing out is the same as being invisible. That's a Seth Godin quote.
Okay.
So I wonder what your thoughts are on that. And I can reread it if you want.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, yes.
Yeah, it's kind of hit
I
you
was trying to
hard,
hold on
right?
to it,
Yeah. So in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is a failure. In a busy marketplace, not standing out is the same as being invisible.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. Absolutely. And it's kind of sucks because it's just like not standing out as a failure. Like that's the part, of course,
Right.
that really hits you because it is crowded, but services are still unique, and especially in the legal world. So I feel like whenever you're able to meet the clients where they are, then it's just easier to stand out. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just tough. That's also the nerve-wracking part. It made me not want to start a firm because it's like, what more can I add to this? Yeah.
So how do you stand out? Because you're in Atlanta,
Yeah.
right? It's a very big city.
Yeah.
One of the biggest in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you able to attract clients, stand out?
So it's cool because I market myself as the Georgia Peach Attorney. And that's because
Which I love, by the way. It's
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
So I'm from Southeast Georgia initially, or originally. And then I moved to Northwest Georgia, spent a lot of my life there. Dalton, carpet capital of the world, in case.
Okay. I did not know that.
I got Southeast Georgia, Okefenokee Swamp, carpet capital of the world in Dalton, Northwest Georgia. And then I landed here in the metro Atlanta area when I became a lawyer. And so I have connections all over the state. So say that I'm able to hit markets where other people in the metro Atlanta area are not. And I'm also willing to travel where they're not willing to travel to.
Yeah. So did you weren't from here, right?
Right.
Okay. So it's kind of a bold thing to start in a city where you didn't grow up, right?
Yes.
I mean, how hard was that?
Terrifying, nerve-wracking, but I got most of my legal work and like history here. So I did start by interning a little bit in Waycross. And then when I moved to Dalton, I got my first legal assistant job. But then coming to Atlanta for law school really helped build my legal knowledge as well as my connections. And so it made me feel a little bit more confident with the mentors that I had to go ahead and start it. But even they suggested, hey, since you do have these connections other places, you want to try to lean into those places instead of just the metro Atlanta area. And thankfully, my network, they just continue to cheer me on from far away. So
it's nice having that cheering section. That's really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're from a small town. How many people were in it?
Well, now listen, I don't know. I'll just say my graduating class was like maybe 30 something, maybe.
Wow, you have me beat. Wow.
But I went to a magnet school, so it was also like a small town and then a smaller school in a small town. So that's why I would say like mine was extremely small. Like the other people, they probably had like hundreds of students.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you said you went to you were a legal assistant before you went to law school?
Yes.
So why that's something, honestly, for some reason I never thought that was a thing to do. So how did you know to do that? Do you think that helps you where you are now when it comes to running your firm?
Absolutely. So I actually got started in the legal world doing mock trial when I was in high school. And so that really helped out a lot. And so after doing mock trial, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but I, being the type A personality that I am, I wanted more experience as much as I could bring forth, because what if I didn't want to do that? What if I actually couldn't handle it? What if I didn't like it? And so in college, I used to let people know what my goals were and things like that. And then there happened to be an opening for a legal assistant at one of my teacher's husband's firms.
Yeah. Do you remember your first day?
Oh gosh, no. I know I was nervous. I remember like thanking them for accepting it, like giving me the job offer, but I don't remember my first day. So that is funny. But never mind, I do.
Okay,
because they
let's hear it.
surprised me with like a little care package and everything. So I had like my little coffee mug, my notebook, and everything like that, my own desk. It was a big deal for a college student, to be able to be in that space.
Yeah. Are there any moments that you ever reflect back on from that experience where you're like, oh, that was so awesome?
Yeah. So many. Speaking of mock trial, I'm actually the vice chair of the high school mock trial committee now.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, like anytime I did something that was meaningful and impactful, I want to give back in that way. And in working in Dalton for my first legal assistant job was when I had to drive to the courthouse to get things file stamped. We didn't have electronic filing at the time. So I really got to know from the ground floor what it was like to work in the legal field. And then once I moved to Atlanta, I became an intern at a law firm while I was in law school, and then became their legal assistant, and then later on their lawyer. So it definitely gave me the footing to be able to handle any job in the legal field, and especially as a lawyer.
We do have some law students that listen to this. So I wonder, what advice would you have for them? Because there are a lot of people that they go to law school because they think that that's what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any advice for people that are maybe before that point? They're not quite to the point where they're or maybe they are in law school, right? And they just don't have that experience. Do you have any advice to them on what they should maybe do?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing I would say is don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. But I would say if you have any idea or a thought of something different that you would like to do, that you would like to explore, I would say explore everything, because in the legal field, it takes a lot out of you and you want to be able to enjoy what you do. So that's one. So that's also why I got as much experience as I did. Reach out to lawyers around you, reach out to your teachers to see if they have internship opportunities or know of other former students or the alumni program that would allow for that. So my school allows for mentorship programs. So I have student mentors that I work with and that I offer, summer internships to going forward. And so because people did that for me, I want to be able to do that. If you're already in law school and you're not sure, they have externship opportunities where you can basically take a class, but instead of going to school, you're going to an internship and you're just logging those hours there. Yeah. So I would definitely recommend trying at least 3 different practice areas to intern with or to work with for summer positions, because your interests may change. You never know exactly what type of law you want to go into. I thought I would do international corporate law, but really family law was always my calling.
That's funny, because I want to ask you about if you had any misconceptions about being a lawyer, because before I went to law school, I worked at State Farm Insurance as a fire claims rep, and I remember when I left, there was we had a really good work environment, and they had taken some Yellow Pages ads, and cut out a picture of me and stuck it on the Yellow Pages ads.
Aww.
And they made a bunch of jokes about ambulance chasers and all that. And going into law school, I was like, I will never be an injury lawyer. I'm an injury lawyer now, but because I had all these misconceptions and misperceptions about what that actually meant.
Yeah.
And then my first, I guess it was my second internship in law school, I loved it. I was like, wow. So you're actually helping people. That's what you're doing. You're fighting against these big insurance companies. It completely shattered what I thought about when it comes to that. And so was there anything, and I'm specifically talking about that first job as a legal assistant, did that help kill any misperceptions that you had about being a lawyer?
I'm trying to think, because I think it's just scarier than you would think. And you would think that, okay, by the time I become a lawyer, we've got this in the bag. Everybody's extremely confident, right? Everybody knows exactly what they're doing. But then you realize, no, actually everyone is still trying to figure it out. And at the end of the day, being a lawyer is tough, because if you're before a jury or before the judge, then they still get the final decision if you can't make it, come to an agreement prior to that. So I think that the law being the law and being the end all be all is not really, what you would think it is as a lawyer. But kind of going back to my first legal assistant job, and in that firm, it was a general law firm, but we did still take on a lot more personal injury, estate planning, and family law cases. And I think that the common misconception that I had at first was just that it was just like money hungry situation, right? Like all lawyers just want money and they're just going to charge up and everything's going to be crazy. But like there are actual lawyers who really truly care and like will do everything they can to make sure that their clients can afford their services.
Yeah, no, I've met way more very good people that are lawyers than the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where we're sort of are a victim of ourselves, where we have sort of let it happen. I think to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Where but the vast majority of lawyers are just fantastic lawyers. I'm not the type though that I'm okay with a good lawyer joke. I don't know about you.
Oh no, I love it.
Yeah.
Give it to me. Like that's perfectly fine. I think it's important to be able to laugh at yourself and to find joy in this job where you can. So.
Yeah, I was at a CLE one time, and it was so funny. There was a guy that was up at the front. It was like a bar. It was like a Missouri Bar Association kind of an event, and he was up there like for like 5-10 minutes ranting about how we shouldn't be laughing at lawyer jokes. I was like, wow, dude,
can't take yourself too seriously.
Oh, no, not at all. All right, so let's talk about Avail.
Yes.
All right, so if you were to distill your work at Avail firm into one core mission, what would you say drives you on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I was actually just kind of fine-tuning it. So it would be community and service.
Oh, so it was good timing then.
It was perfect timing.
Okay, what made you think to want to fine-tune it?
Because, they talk about, I'm a new firm. So they talk about like building your ideal client or your client avatar and then kind of what the message is, the brand message is out to our clients. And that is just kind of at my core who I am and what I seek out whenever I'm looking into other services, why I went to the law school I went to, like why I engage with the friends that I do. And so that is what I want to be able to present to my clients. And then my clients no longer are not always just, oh, my client. There's somebody who's in our community who could be a referral source for another client of mine or another friend or, so I think that when you really make people community like family type, I hate to say like family, but at the same time, I feel like your chosen family is your community. And I think that it's really good to have people you can lean on. So that's what it would be.
So why those words though? I mean, so it was community and
service. Yes.
So let's start with service.
Yes.
So why, and then how are you able to fulfill that through Avail?
So a part of it is one, we practice where we do family law, estate planning, and personal injury. So those are just like our basic service areas. But then within that, we also offer within our Georgia Peach Collective a referral network for our clients. So if you need a dentist, you need a hairstylist, you need a plumber, like we have these connections for our clients. So that's where it like ties in the service and community part.
Sure. I think it's a really cool idea. Like where like your clients, like your community is kind of coming to you to find the best options for things. And I'm going to come back to that in a second,
Sure.
but Avail.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure people know about this. So it's an acronym.
Yes.
Right? So what's it stand for?
So, well, it actually is my name. So it's me. So Alycia Vail Taylor, but also to avail, like, so as if you are prevailing, especially in these legal sources. So like, we're going to give you all of the resources that you need to be able to avail. And we're also available.
Yeah, I like it. It's very well. I think it's very cool because like you combined parts of your name, and I think it's not something you see very often. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so the whole idea, like, how would you differentiate between Georgia Peach Collective and the Avail firm?
So the Georgia Peach Collective is strictly our referral network. And so that's everybody who we network with just on a daily basis, what we're doing here, but also providing just resources to our clients, but also to our referral network.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a mixture of things.
Sure.
Like it's just like a circular situation of, okay, so now my financial planner needs a dentist, that type of thing. So they can connect on that way. They also can connect in different service areas that they have or different areas of Georgia. And then it goes even further because now I've got doctors or chiropractors that I can refer my personal injury clients to and vice versa. And so it just really is just like the Georgia Peach Collective is the full networking source, just the 100 list is what they call it sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And then the Avail firm strictly is about our legal services.
So how does someone become a part of the collective?
So great question. One, they would contact me or any of my team members to let me know that they want to be a part of the collective. And then we will give them their tiered package list that they can choose from.
Yep.
So therefore they can be a part of networking, community events. They can be a part of the online community that we have. They can be a part of, traveling or giving speeches or, being a part of the podcast or doing webinars with us. Because I think what is really important, they say knowledge is power. It's like cheeky, but so serious. In our field, especially with family law, so many areas of their life are touched or needed or affected by them getting a divorce, by them getting, child support or whatever it may be.
I hit the microphone all the time, so it's no big
I know,
deal.
right? I'm like the only person over here talking my hands, like hold myself.
I've learned to force myself to do it, even though you should talk with your hands because actually it actually makes people like you more. I don't know if you knew that.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I have lots of friends. No,
but I've like forced myself to kind of like not move them. But
be chill.
Yeah. But I want to ask you. So the packages, I find it interesting.
Okay.
Is a couple 2-part question.
Sure.
Is the collective a subsidiary of the Avail firm or vice versa? And so just so I'm clear, people are paying to be part of the group, the
collective.
Yes.
If you're a part of that collective, yes, it is like a membership group.
Yeah.
And so then there's different tiers based off of the membership, what that you want. We also have very exclusive things for the collective. So it's actually our wedding planner who became like our go-to travel planner. And so she has ideas for us to be able to now eventually take it to international trips, with our collective. But right now we're just doing local things in order to, just make sure that one, we're supporting our local communities, giving back. Maybe they want to be a part of the collective going forward, but also just to pour into these people who are giving such service and great service to our communities.
I love it. So, but is one a subsidiary of the other?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
So the Georgia Peach Collective, so everything Georgia Peach related essentially is like a subsidiary of the Avail firm.
Okay. That's the reason I'm asking is,
yes.
So I had done an episode, I don't know, a month or so ago about different ways of making money for your firm.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't one of them. And I wish I would have actually done this interview beforehand because I think it's a really cool idea where you have created this way of finding more revenue for your firm. And what's super clever about it is that you're benefiting. So it's like you have a network paying you to then benefit you and your clients. So I think it's amazing. It's a very clever idea.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's fun. I never thought about it. It's like I haven't gotten that kind of feedback, but I like that.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
The idea, where did it come from? How did this originate? I think it's a brilliant idea.
Well, it's so funny. I mean, I've always wanted, and I've worked at different firms where they talked about like concierge lists and things like that. And so I've always heard of it, but I've never actually seen it put in practice. And it was something when I started my firm, I knew for sure that I wanted to put it in practice.
Yeah. Okay. That's very cool. Do your clients pay to get access to that list, or just by being a client, they have access to it?
Exactly. Just by being a client, they have access to the list.
Be very interesting. I don't know how I'd feel about it, but it'd be very interesting if you could find a way for the clients to pay for access to the list.
I mean,
too.
You know what? It actually could be in a sense of a subscription.
Yeah.
So a yearly, a monthly or a yearly subscription to the collective. Now, see, look at there.
And they get discounted rates.
Exactly, of course, definitely. And that's what I tell the people who are in the collective. So I may give, if you're a part of the collective and you need any of the Avail firm services, you get a discount. But I don't expect them to give my clients a discount. However, if I was to do an annual subscription, I think that would make sense. And then that is their discount.
So I do have a question.
Sure.
So you have the 3 niche areas.
Yeah.
And are you practicing each of those practice areas?
Yes.
Okay. And then you have the Georgia Peach. Do you ever worry that you're being pulled in too many different directions?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so every time I get a chance to try to figure out, cool, like what to power down or what to, kind of, what is it? What's the word? Of course, it's going to, I can't even think of it because I don't do it well enough. But whenever you pass work off to others.
Yeah, delegate. Yeah.
There we go. Delegate.
Yeah.
So, yes. So I have been working diligently on how to delegate in order to not be feeling like I'm pulled in so many different directions. And I've also slowly scaled it. And by slowly, I mean, I did start my firm at the end of August. But in my mind, I'm slowly scaling it because I'm like pacing it out. Because the other thing that we do have that we just started was our podcast for the firm. And so that one's called Georgia Peach Sessions.
Nice.
But yeah.
Okay, well, tell me more about that.
So it's actually, have you heard of or have you seen Meghan Markle Sussex show on Netflix?
I have not, but I've heard really terrible things about it.
I can't believe people are trying to be haters.
So here's the thing. I'm not hating. I'm just telling you what I've heard. So that I am sure based on what I've heard, I'm sure whatever you are doing is substantially better compared to what I have heard.
Well, it's fantastic. To me, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. It's like the type of escapism that you want because it's no drama and it is just fun, like easy ways to learn how to do things in your daily life. And that's the way I take it. So for my podcast, like that's the vibe I wanted was fun, friends, family, like people who are really a part of my inner circle, getting a chance to not only share their skill sets with others. So like I'll just give you like a snippet of one of my podcasts. So it's called like it was supposed to be called Cupcakes in Custody, but then
Yeah.
we just switched it at the last second. But because
Oh, that's kind of fun.
yeah, so my
Yeah.
friend is a mental health therapist, so she'll come back for Cupcakes in Custody.
Okay.
But for this one, she just did like Mind Over Matter. And she's also a baker though. So she made us Georgia peach cupcakes, which was like it was just like a vanilla based cupcake with Georgia, what's it called? The peach cobbler toppings.
Oh.
So it was
Ooh.
fantastic. So the whole part is to like not only highlight what she does on her like side job, right? But to also highlight what she does in her day-to-day job, which is a mental health therapist. And then we talk about how that works well for entrepreneurs, as well as people who are going through legal battles, as well as how parents can, deal and communicate with their kids. So that's what the Cupcakes in Custody one will be about. And my goal for that one is to like have us like decorate the cupcakes together, like doing something different than just sitting here and talking. Like it's always fine.
Yeah.
But I feel like it could be fun to be interactive.
Well, we can gossip about shows like this. What's the name of the Meghan Markle show?
With Love, Meghan.
Okay, so
it's so good.
I want to ask you about this.
I'm gonna make every single thing she made.
I think this is gonna help your show. Okay, this is why I'm asking you.
Okay.
So the main critique I've heard, is that there's things that she's clearly doing that she doesn't know what she's doing, and it's like clearly very fake and like staged. That's what I've heard. It's like all staged, and it's like I heard something about her wearing all white and like.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I did see that, and people like, yes, sometimes people do wear white in the kitchen. Some people are not natural klutz.
And so she was like picking some fruit, and I don't remember. That's what I heard.
Like strawberries.
Is that what it was?
I mean, I know for sure she had some strawberries that she picked.
Did you get that perception too?
No.
Okay, interesting.
Everything about it was genuine, authentic, kind, nice.
Yeah.
Just like I don't know, but I mean, I guess because I also just. I watched her before the whole Prince Harry stuff, right? I followed her initial blog, The Teague. So I think that I just kind of have a different perception of her because the same thing happened with one of my other friends in a group text. Like one friend watched it, she loved it. I'm like, I loved it. And the other friend is like, no, someone said she's trying to copy Rachel Ray or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't care. But I want to host a tea party with my friends, and I hope I can do it on the Georgia Peach sessions with like some of the little things that she made because I think they're just cute ways to elevate your food and then just talking with people, learning. So
the reason why I said that might help with yours is like as long as whatever you're doing is genuine, like that's what matters. Like that's what I was talking about beforehand. Like not have the podcaster's voice, like having conversations like we've been doing, right?
Yeah,
because people they know, like they can sense whenever people are not being real. Like so that's as long as you're being genuine with everything. I think that's excellent.
One thing about me that one thing about me that I love, but really it's like I almost have like an inability to not be authentic. Yeah. And I hate that at times because I'm like, oh no, this is not a good look. And then other times it works because everybody who works with me on the show, so like my producer for the podcast and for all of my social media, he's one of my best friends from law school. And he chose not to be a lawyer, which is like, good for you. This is exactly what I say. Like, do your things. And then everyone who I had as a guest for the first show and what I hope for the first season will be actual, genuine, close friends of mine. And then the next season be people who I've continued to get to know through the collective. So that way people can see how, just true and genuine it is. So the first was a mental health therapist friend. The other was my coaching and consulting friend for just like wellness, mental health and wellness coaching. You can see how important I think that is.
Yeah, it's good.
The other was my husband. To give people a little insight. And then the other was a legal assistant who I helped promote to a paralegal.
Ooh, okay.
And so we talked about sisterhood and the law. And so,
So health and wellness is important.
Yes.
Right? So why is it so important to you?
Because I know that your body can shut down and you won't be able to do anything if you're not focused on that. And a lot of times it really does start with the mental side of it before it goes to the physical and being able to just like pair those two together in order to have the strength to carry on. Like there are some days where I'm just shut down because I have overspent essentially on the mental and physical side of things.
Was there some sort of event that happened or what led you to that? I mean, it's like one of those things where like, I've had to sort of come to this realization over time that, mental health is really, really important. Obviously, physical health is really, really important. But I think when we're younger, we sort of, we discount how important it
take
is.
it for
Yeah,
granted.
we
Are
totally
you
take it for
kidding me?
granted. Yeah. So I wonder what led you to like, okay, I got to get serious about this.
A mixture of things. One, you go to the doctor, right? And after you over 30, and I mean, I'm only freshly over 30, but still over
Yeah.
30,
Yeah.
all of a sudden everything starts to hurt, and all these things come up on the test. They're talking about blood pressure and cholesterol and stress and anxiety. And honestly, that was really it for me. It was like the anxiety and stress of it all really taking a toll on my body.
Sure.
And then once I started my own firm and it being virtual, and I'm sitting for days on end, not moving, all of us, and not working out because I'm thinking, I don't have to work out every day. Anyway, so then the number on the scale continues to go up, and then overall health numbers are dropping or elevating, whichever one, on the negative side.
Yeah.
And so that really was just like my wake up call in general, because I felt like I was doing my body a disservice, and I forgot that, you have to pour into yourself before you can pour into others. I just kind of kept thinking I could go.
Yeah.
Like coasting.
Like when you're on an airplane and the masks drop down, you got to put the mask on yourself before you can help anybody else.
Literally.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I'm in bed. I can't move. My husband is like, you're not getting up to do anything. You just need to lay there, and it was kind of like, okay, maybe I do need to like have a plan on health and wellness in order to do this entrepreneur,
So
thing.
have you ever done like those massive blood tests where you can like do all like check everything, like what foods you should be eating, which ones you should not be eating?
No, I want to do that.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
I just paid for one. I've not done the test yet, so it's like function.
Okay.
I like listening to Modern Wisdom, and like they have like a special deal where you can get it through them.
Nice.
It's like $4.99 or something like that. So I bought one for me and one for my wife. So we're gonna do that, and they do it all through Quest.
Okay.
So and you have Quest in there, right?
Yeah.
Where like they're all over the place.
Yeah.
So you can go to any of the labs, and then they just draw like 11 or 12 vials of blood, and then they tell you all these things about, which I
need to do that.
I'm very excited about doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's something I prefer. Like I like to know all the things, and then it makes it so much easier to care for yourself.
Well, it's crazy. Like good luck going to like my mom, she just happened by coincidence.
Yeah.
Like a week before I paid for function. She's like, yeah, I just went to the doctor. She had to go drive 20 minutes away from where we live. And because you go to like a regular doctor and they're like, oh, you don't need to get any blood tests. We're like, it's insane.
But I'd like to.
I want to get my blood, but they may do it, but they're not going to analyze it for you.
Yeah.
So she ended up finding a doctor. It's like 20 minutes away. She had to drive out there 20 miles away, and it's frustrating.
Definitely, because I mean, I was at the doctor, and then I asked them like my blood type or whatever, because I'm like, you know what, I actually don't know it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, well, we're going to send this information to a different, Quest Diagnostics or whatever, and then you have to get it from them.
Oh, interesting.
I was like, oh, okay.
Do you know what it is now?
No.
No.
Because it wasn't that serious at that point.
Funny. Mine's O positive. I know that. Yes, I do, because it's the opposite of the really good. Not the opposite of the good, really, but the one that's like really, really good, like O negative.
Yeah. Like no one's gonna hunt you down now for your blood.
Exactly right. Got it. So exactly right. Yeah. So let's talk about the virtual firm.
Yeah.
And what was the reason behind wanting to do a remote?
So one, it was to be able to service more people. Because not everyone needs to see you to, handle their will or to get a name change, and honestly, even a divorce. Like there are so many things that we can do virtually now, especially since COVID, that was awful and traumatic, but it also gave our court systems these opportunities to kind of lean into the virtual side of things. So where they do that, we will make sure that we offer everything to our clients. So that way their lives are not fully interrupted, right? They have to now start what they're doing and get off of work and do X, Y, and Z just to come meet with us. They can do a quick meeting online. They can do a phone call, Zoom, whatever they prefer. We can handle business. We can talk in the client portal, exchange documents, get everything filed, sent to them, and it's done.
Do you ever run into any issues because you're remote?
Yes. Well, especially in the beginning, right? Because of like trying to find the right spot to meet clients. Because I didn't know that sometimes clients would just show up to wherever,
Oh, yeah, they will. Yeah.
And then they're like, I'm here. What's happening? I wanted to stop by and say something or do whatever.
Sure.
And it's like, oh, okay, that's why we say by appointment only.
Yeah.
Because we mean it, because we're not going to be there. So I think sometimes that's definitely been like.
So was this an address they found on the website?
So it is our Google website, right? For mail.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
For mail or by appointments.
Is it an Atlanta address or is it like somewhere else?
It is an Atlanta address. And so I felt really bad because someone drove like an hour away one time. Yeah, but no one told them they had an appointment in person.
We've had that before several times.
So it's like, oh no. So that, or of course, if people are because we have a really good Google SEO, which is awesome, but like they may be in Macon. They're like, well, you were the first one who popped up in Macon, so I want to meet with you in person today. And it's like, cool, but we can't do that today. We can certainly do it later. If you're welcome to drive to Atlanta, we don't have like satellite offices everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that could be something to look into, or at least meeting at courthouses in different places or something for people who want in person. But for the most part, everybody has been really good about it being virtual because they're like, oh no, actually this saves me time and money.
So Macon, how big is it?
I don't know.
Okay. Is it, I'm assuming it's substantially smaller than Atlanta?
Yeah, definitely. And it's like an hour and a half away, maybe.
So the reason why I'm asking is because we've got a St. Louis office and a Columbia office.
Okay.
And St. Louis is way bigger than Columbia.
Okay.
And what we've noticed is we have a lot more drop-ins in Columbia, a lot more clients in Columbia that want to meet in person. St. Louis, they couldn't care. Like
they're like, please actually do not try to see me.
Yeah, don't. They like, we barely want to talk to you. And it's a handle my case and we'll talk to you when you have a check for me kind of a thing. Columbia is not like that. It's just completely different. So I wonder if you have a similar experience.
I mean, a little bit. I will say, thankfully, our clients really find me and my team personable enough to where it works out that they don't really feel like they're missing out with in person. And then again, we do offer it if they want to. It's just by appointment, and then it is going to be here in Atlanta for now, unless like I happen to be traveling there already for court.
Have you ever thought about not taking any clients that want to meet in person, where like you have like some sort of standing policy?
No, not really. I guess because honestly, it just hasn't come up yet. But also I think it would make sense. We probably would reject them if they're like, well, absolutely not. I want to meet with her in person now. She needs to come to me. Well, then it would be like, well, unfortunately, we can't do that.
So I'm going to tell you a little trick. We've stopped taking any client that does not have an email address.
Oh, okay. That's
and
good.
What we found was if you don't have an email address, you are far more likely to want to meet in person.
Smart.
And it doesn't really fit in with what we're hybrid. So we are remote. We have remote employees and we have in-person employees. I go to the office. Yeah. We have 2 physical offices. But even with that, it's still with the way we're set up. We've been paperless since 2010. It just does not fit in with like the way we update our clients, all of that. If you don't have an email address, it just creates a whole different headache because it just doesn't fit in. So have you ever thought about, and maybe not email address, are there other things that maybe you could do that are similar where you're like, okay, let's weed out clients that way?
To a degree, because yes, I mean, it makes it difficult if they don't have an email address or if they're just not willing at all to have any sort of meetings in person, virtually, because like at least for our initial meeting, we try to make that virtual because it just makes the most sense.
Is it over the phone or is it on the computer?
Phone or Zoom, whichever one they prefer. And then they just have to have at least somebody who's willing to help them, right? Like so thankfully we have a lot of people who have kids who will help them with the technology. So that works out. But then other times they're just, like I said, sometimes people just show up. So I should probably have a policy for the people who just show up to just go ahead and
you're cut off.
Because one, if they just show up to I'm switching everything now, but if they had just shown up to our previous like mailing situation, they would have missed out on our really nice office that's on the Beltline that you can bring your dog to. That was always a reason for me like to go. So it's not, so our firm is still virtual, but we have like our co-working space, which is at Industrious on the Beltline. So it's similar to a WeWork, but different.
Industrious are cool.
Yeah, I love it. They have snacks, and then again, they allow doggies.
I do wonder which one was first. I knew about Industrious before WeWork, but I don't know which one was first.
Yeah, me neither. I always heard about WeWork first, though, before Industrious. So I don't know if it just took a while to get down to Georgia compared to, because I know like they have it in Texas and Arizona.
They have them in St. Louis. They've had them in St. Louis since, way back when. I'm talking like probably like 2012.
Yeah. I love how they do business. And so like that's been so we switched to that, but it just took us a while to figure out where we wanted to be to where we would regularly meet with clients.
I like the way they kind of rethink things because and I think this is the business model where they go into old buildings and they kind of accept the bones as they are and then like put nice furnishings in there. But it doesn't seem like they spend nearly as much as what like WeWork had to.
Probably. I don't know. The one on the Beltline is insanely nice. So I'm not quite sure. They apparently shot like a Marvel scene there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like insane.
Is it a brand new building?
No. You know what? They were considering. Sorry. It was on the list, but they didn't actually make the cut.
So is that in a new building though, or is it an old building?
I have no idea. It looks new.
Okay.
Everything looks new and nice and pristine. I really chose it because of the security purposes for law firms, of course. Like that just is huge. And then obviously the other part is being dog friendly. But yeah.
Because you do estate planning, you need a notary every once in a while, right?
Mhm.
So how do you deal with things like that?
We have a travel notary, and then we also contact other travel notaries in other cities whenever we have clients in other places.
Do you ever use anything like Notarize?
No, but I think, and that must be like an
It's
online.
Proof now. It's called Proof now.
Oh,
but
yes.
Yeah.
Wait. You talking about Proof?
Notarize used to be, so Proof used to be Notarize.
But Proof is now. So we use Proof for service, but I didn't realize
Proof
that they
also,
do.
now they Notarize, yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, yeah.
So I wonder if Proof bought Notarize. I don't know.
They had to have, right?
But we use, so it used to be called, if you Google Notarize.
Yeah. It'll come up.
And
as
actually, if
Proof
you
now.
Google Notarize, a bunch of notaries will come up, and Notarize won't come up. You have to say, remote notary or something like that.
Yeah.
Notarize. That's probably why they changed it to Proof.
Yeah.
But Proof is, we use Proof. It's really good.
I love it for service. I didn't
Yeah.
think about it for notary, so I need to look into all the other services they have then.
So we used to use, if we didn't have, if they were not someone that was going to come into the office to have it notarized in person, we would send out a mobile notary, which honestly the price is actually about the same. But we found it was getting a little awkward with clients. We were scheduling it for clients. With Proof, they can schedule it themselves.
Yep.
They could.
So much.
I could send you a document right now, and you could go whenever you want. You could go right now if you wanted, no appointment, and you'd have it notarized in minutes. It's pretty good.
Nice. I love Proof in general, just like the way that they handle everything service-wise. Even if they need what is it? Not the affidavit of service, but the motion to appoint, that they'll make sure that they get all that information out.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so they're really good on that and that side of things. And then Steno is supposed to be good for depositions and whatnot, transcripts.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Well, now that's all I know.
Okay, that's like, okay.
So it's STENO.
And like they're like
it's online.
They're like remote.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it. I thought it was kind of a silly name, but they use something like guardians of the depositions, what they call them. They were not court reporters. They were not certified court reporters.
Interesting.
Which was really, I thought the same thing.
Why? What?
I don't remember the reasoning, but apparently they said with within all the court rules, it was legit. But I don't know. I don't know.
It's like this is not the time to risk it.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, it was. I posted about the one time, and like a court reporter said something about because I thought it was at first I thought it was pretty cool, and then I looked into it. I don't know.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I don't know. So I wonder how difficult is it marketing for the 3 different practice areas?
So it is interesting, right? Just like trying to run it. So what we decided to do was kind of take a step back on marketing on personal injury because that was not our number one client intake situation just from opening.
Yeah.
So we take personal injury cases as they come, but we're not necessarily like marketing to them. We'll still do my social media marketing. Like we'll still give people insight and information, let them know we do that, that we practice that. And then whenever I meet up with my other personal injury friends or, the larger firms or smaller firms, someone who doesn't want to litigate or someone who wants, who just has too many cases, then we'll take those on. So that's kind of how we've helped a little bit. When it comes to family law, that naturally has just come. Like I've been doing it now for over 10 years, even though I've only been barred for 5. But because I started, as a legal assistant before, I've been involved in family law for over 10 years. And then similarly with estate planning, but we've been trying to push that one more because I feel like a lot of people just don't know about estate planning as much and like what they could use, what they could need, and why it's not just for wealthy people and things like that. So I've really been trying to educate people on the estate planning side and making sure my close friends and family all have that taken care of. So that way they don't have to worry about their loved ones later. But family law is just it is just a beast, unfortunately. There's always going to be litigation going on with family law. So it's almost no marketing outside of Google.
Yeah. How do you keep track or how do you have systems and processes for all 3? Because they're so drastically different.
Yeah. So, thankfully, our case management system is really versatile. So we use Clio. Mm-hmm. And so and that's the one that allows it automatically syncs up with Proof and with Steno. And so nice. Those things already are tracked within our system. So we don't have to keep going to opening all these different things. They even have Matter Snail, which is a mail situation. So where we don't have to go to the post office to mail anything. Sure. We just do it online.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. I've never heard of Matter Snail. I've heard of lots of them. So that's one for sending letters? Uh-huh. Interesting. What about your mail? How do you handle your mail?
So right now the mail does come, and that's something I would love to figure out a better system for.
Earth class mail.
Air class?
Earth
class.
Yeah,
so, okay, I saw that, but I got nervous because are they the ones who will open and scan it and send it to you?
Yeah.
See, The confidentiality part of it. It just made me nervous. What's their confidentiality
What's the
policy?
difference between having like a contractor come in and doing that versus like,
Probably not. And
yeah.
that makes it better, easier.
Yeah, I mean they can even deposit checks. Like we don't do that. We don't have them do that.
Don't go that far.
We don't have any checks go to that office. We have
Okay.
we just have we'd say have it go to the scanning center. And
Okay.
it just goes and scans and it goes straight into a folder, and then we have a VA that actually then goes and puts it in client files.
That would be beautiful. That's the one struggle right now. And then with that though, I'm trying to figure out, how do you still have like your listed office, but then there's a mailing address separate? So is it that whenever you're filing things, you just like, how does it work?
Yeah, so good question. So on all of our pleadings, we put the scanning center.
Okay,
address.
the Earth class mail.
Yeah, exactly. Which is they give you an actual. It was interesting. They just switched us over. It used to be a PO box, which I didn't like, and they actually just switched it over to a real address. This is a good thing and a bad thing. It is so our Clayton address, which is our St. Louis address.
Okay.
The mailing center address is a block away. So
Okay.
like they're like,
oh wow.
So that could get confusing.
Yeah.
So we just make sure it's very, very clear in all of our email signatures, and then on the pleadings for mail only, don't send checks, all that. But that's
Okay.
for the most part, we only list that address.
Okay.
Is what we do. That's how we do it.
But then how do people show up?
Well,
for in
now
person?
we make sure it's very clear though, like for our clients,
Yeah.
like if we're like at the depot or something, we just make sure we tell them which address it is.
Yeah.
And when it comes to defense firms, we make sure that, hey, this is the address, our St.
Yeah.
Louis address. And so
And on Google, same thing?
Yeah.
It's just the
yeah, we do. Yeah. The mailing address is not
on Google.
on Google at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we do it. The main reason why we use it is because we get so much mail.
Yeah.
The scanning alone, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much time.
Yeah.
Because we get like, pleadings, discovery,
Right.
medical records, like just so many things.
Right.
And it's just so much to scan in. It's worth it by itself just for that.
That makes sense. And I mean, thankfully, we don't have like a large mail volume, which is why it's kind of been like low on the list of trying to figure out what to do about it.
Yeah.
But I also hate going to grab the mail and scanning it in, and especially when the scanner doesn't want to work with me today. You know what I
Sure,
mean?
yeah.
Like, but my team, with them being remote and virtual, it's difficult for me sometimes to delegate when I want someone to go and check the mail or get it, because sometimes I'm just closer. So it's just things I
Yeah.
have to like figure out and little
right,
kinks
yeah.
work through.
If you were going to get rid of one of the practice areas, which would it be?
Probably PI. It's not that, but it's hard to. But I mean, probably. I in my mind, I still would never like officially give it up. I would still
Yeah.
we just
Sure.
wouldn't market it or
Why
promote it.
are you so attached to it?
Because I mean, I've done it before. I enjoy it. I think that it's sometimes a good break too from like my family law and estate planning
Yeah.
type things. And I really like helping people in general. And I like the people that I've met in the PI field. Sometimes they've been like way nicer and
Yeah.
way more enjoyable to work with on that side than it has been on my family law side of things.
So I have. It's interesting. So early on in my career, I've handled 3 family law matters. It was really early, and I was doing
And you
them
were
as
like,
favors.
absolutely never.
And how vicious they were. And then we had an injury case where we filed the lawsuit against the husband. And this is one of those things, of the only time I've ever done this. It was just an interesting thing that we tried
Mhm.
where there was a divorce component too. So my buddy handled the divorce, and then we handled the injury side of it.
Mhm.
And because the husband was a very abusive, but he had money. That's why we're like, okay, well,
Sure.
let's try
we'll
this.
make it work.
And I couldn't believe how nasty the other side was. It was like it's a different like with
Right.
PI, it is mostly really good.
Yeah.
The other side, but family law, I
But
don't know how you'll like. Why is it like that?
I do not know. And I feel like an alien sometimes outside of it. I'm like, I know I'm not like the only person who feels like this, but it's like the people who feel like it either get out of it, hurry up and get out
Yeah.
of it, or they just are passive. And instead, like I'm trying to like help make this a better field. And so I'm trying to do all of the niceties that you would normally do. Like, hey, I'm going to introduce myself in the case. Hey, we're going to try to work for these parties' best interests. And if not the parties, then the children involved. Like,
Yeah.
let's think about the kids, because I actually got into family law because of my own family situation. My parents went through a divorce when I was like 12.
Yeah.
So I got to see the justice system not be so just. And I wanted to help in that regard. And so now I get to see it on the adult side and help. And everybody doesn't have that same agenda, it seems. I don't know if it's just like a money-driven thing, if it's an ego-driven thing. I don't know. I would love to have more family law attorney friends.
Yeah.
I have a good, like, just a group of people. However, in general, I've just continued to run across people who I can't understand, like, their point in it. It's like they have a personal stake in it or something. I don't know.
So, and it's weird to me is all of the family law attorneys that I personally know are all nice, good people.
Yeah. But then they talk about everybody else who's awful.
Yeah, and like my experience has been like the other side has been awful, and I wonder if like, do you all turn into a different human, whenever you're dealing with each other?
I think so. And I think, it depends on like how personal you take it, because whenever I love being the reasonable person in the room. And I realize other people don't care about being reasonable. And I think that makes a difference. Or, we have different opinions of what reasonable is. Or the law's just not on your side. So there's only so much you can do, and someone's going to, act up or showboat for their client because of it.
There is something about, I'm reading this book, and they're talking about how judges, they will, when it like later in the day when they're tired.
Yeah.
So let's say this is, you're in the middle of a jury trial. I know, and do you have, is it bench tried cases in?
Mostly,
yeah.
yes.
So let's say it's a bench tried case, and it's near the end of the day, and you are the one moving to change something.
Mm-hmm.
Judges are far more likely to go with the status quo of whatever it is when they're tired at the end of the day. But if you know things like that,
yeah.
Like I feel like the bad attorneys, the ones, not the bad ones, the mean ones, the vile ones,
yeah,
they'll take advantage of things like that. Whereas like you or me, where we might be like you kind of like you would be a lot more reasonable, and you want to be reasonable to the judge, but being reasonable is not a good thing.
No,
in that
because
situation.
like these people's lives are going to be changed forever to a degree. Like this is going to make an impact. And so I think about it, like I take that part of it so seriously. And so therefore I'm going to try not to, make any missteps. I'm going to try to, engage with the other side in negotiations to try to settle it outside of court, because we never know what's going to happen with court. But sometimes you just cannot do that. And you just have to sit before the judge. Then the worst is when the judge thinks that both you and opposing counsel are just bickering. And it's like, no, Your Honor. No,
yes.
No. They're like, both of y'all need to hush. And it's like, okay, so we're not going to.
That happened to me in December, where the other side was being so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then he took it out on both of us.
Yeah.
And like he said, you all go back into my jury room and you all go deal. I'm thinking like,
yeah,
I didn't do anything here. But it's like, oh, yes, Your Honor. Like it's.
Of course.
But,
of course.
Yes. But what it does is I feel like it forces you to be unreasonable when ordinarily you would be reasonable.
What? Yes. So that's why I tell people, make sure you know you want to do this, because it is a lot, and it's a lot of growing. It's a lot of learning. It can be really great, so rewarding. However, it is difficult.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about time management, because how are you able to run the firm, run the collective, manage cases, all that? How are you able to do all that?
Thank God I have my A team is what I call them, of course.
Sure.
So, like they are fantastic. So I've got my operations manager and my engagement specialist, my events and marketing coordinator, my account manager, and my senior paralegal. I call her senior paralegal because, one, she was my very first ever paralegal. We will be eventually getting, another paralegal.
Yeah.
And so I wanted her to already have the senior title. And so with those, I'm able to actually, stop and come and do things like this, promote the firm. And then they keep me on track, like on top of my schedule. So fun fact, my mom is my operations manager.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So
okay.
If you can imagine, like if your mom, working with you, or like your wife working with you or something, where they just will make sure you're on top of things. And so it's really great to have her not only be my mom, but also kind of like my mom to my, mom to my clients, or even to my team members as needed. And I feel like that gives an extra special touch to the firm whenever they are communicating with team members, because, okay, if they can't get me, if the clients can't get me, they know they can reach somebody else who is going to care. And so I think it ends up working out. We'll see. I just had to like make my team kind of small to start. We'll see if we're going to grow and how we're going to grow it. Our clientele has been growing. It's been really cool to see. I want to make sure I can serve them well, and also like time blocking, discipline. That's what my business coaches have told me and instilled in me.
Yeah.
And so I think that has helped a lot. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm certainly not perfect at it, but trying.
Time blocking is absolutely crucial. So how old's your firm?
August 2024.
So you have, I'd say a bigger staff than most people whenever they're first starting out. So this is sort of a combination question where I wonder how did you know to have the staff you have? And then a lot of people are going to wonder how you're able to pay for it.
Mhm.
So, because it is like just starting out. So, did you invest a lot into the firm at the beginning? Because that is, the reason I'm asking it, because I think a lot of people are going to have that question.
Yeah.
So, because there's a lot of people that are, when they first start, it's just them, right?
Yeah.
So, that's why it's a two-part. So, how were you able to pay for it? You answered that, where you and made sure you invested into the firm at the
Absolutely. I
beginning.
invested everything I
Yeah.
had to begin with. So like me personally was broke, but the firm was doing great
Sure.
to begin. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then
So
of course I have my lovely husband. So then that helped.
that's always nice too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess, how did you know what butts to put on the bus?
I didn't. I was terrified. I thought, but the main thing is I didn't want to fail my clients. And so as I saw the money coming in, I just reached out to the people who I knew had already been there for me for years prior to the firm ever being involved, or people who had already encouraged me to start the firm and said that they would have my back from the beginning. So to be truthful, like thankfully when I first started out and everybody kind of started with a starter salary, well, not a real salary, contract work, but they all understood that this is a place that we're going to be growing. So this is not where we're just starting here, but we want to make sure that this thing gets off to a good start. And so that really helped out well, is because everyone had the understanding of what we were trying to build. And then from there, as the firm continued to grow, then everybody, I put raises based off of the growth of the firm, essentially. And so then that really helped out.
I find it so interesting how, if you look at a law firm and then like, let's use like a restaurant,
Mhm.
okay, or a gas station or whatever. I think it's kind of funny how lawyers, they will start with one person,
Mhm.
maybe two. But like a restaurant, they have like 20 people, or like a gas station, they have like
Yeah.
10 people.
Yeah.
Where like, so they have to start it a certain way with a number of people, and then like the upfront costs are so much. Whereas like a lawyer, they'll just start with one person. I've always found it kind of interesting how we kind of do that to ourselves, where
Yeah.
like ideally it's probably best from a client standpoint and like actually handling the case management standpoint to actually start with the team. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, and that was it for me. It's like I saw the clients coming in because that I wanted to wait to hire anyone until I saw that, right? And I'm like, okay, this is happening. This is a real thing. Now let's provide a really good service for them and like let's keep it going and let them refer people to us and let us, just continuing to have clients.
So tell me about that entrepreneurial spark that
Mhm.
that nudged you in this direction.
I wish I really knew. I always thought I didn't want to be a firm owner, a business owner. I know it seems weird, and
Yeah.
now that I started this business, I got like 5,
Yeah.
right? Like, but it was more so about like wanting. I always thought I was a busy bee or a worker bee, and like I could take instruction really well, and like let me just work hard.
Yeah.
But then I started seeing like all the effort I would be putting into things, and then maybe they weren't being used, or maybe they weren't really appreciated, or whatever it may be. And then also, I never got the final say with what it was that I was suggesting. And this is going to be a little bomb drop, but my karate instructor had told me.
Yeah, my wife does taekwondo.
Yeah.
She just got her black belt on Friday. So yeah.
But he told me like I don't do well under poor leadership. And that's, years ago. And it was so true. And again, not to say that everybody who I worked for before, were poor leaders or anything like
Yeah.
that. It's just, I have a structure in my mind that I wanted to create. And I had a vision that I wanted to see. And I had to do it.
So he told you don't do well in a. Oh, I don't think anybody does well under poor
I
leadership.
know,
You know what I
but
mean?
I would agree. But at the same time, it's like, if I see it, I'm going to start taking action on it. Whereas other people may sit and be passive about it. I don't know.
How has that influenced you whenever it comes to how you manage your people?
I try to be very inclusive but maybe like overly inclusive. So I'm having to learn how to like
What do you mean by
have the
that?
balance. Well, I'm trying to have the balance, right? Of, okay, like what it means to be the boss, right? But at the same time, so not oversharing with certain information or oversharing when it comes to like, how I would talk to my girlfriend about, oh my gosh, can you believe this happened at work today? Like I can't really do that in that regard
Yeah.
as the boss. However, I can have the inclusivity when it comes to, hey, are these systems working for you? Hey, do you like working here? Hey, when I gave you this instruction, did that work?
Yeah.
Hey, is this too much of a caseload, dude? What do you have on your plate? So I try to be inclusive in that way because I think it makes sense to have people who are fully working
Sure.
give you guidance on how it's going to like help your clients and help them. I think a lot of times people focus on the client aspect, which is great, but I think what's forgotten are the people who work for the clients.
I do agree 100%. There is also like, I'm a firm believer that you don't you're not family. You're just not. I mean, it's
And that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
And so I think that's why I always I hesitate to use the term like family when it comes to friends or clients or whatever, because I want to say it's community based. And then you put whatever passion you have towards it, like that person clearly needs to be in that role
Right.
because of the passion, their dedication, their goals, X, Y, and Z, compared to it being like, okay, a family type driven friendship.
And it doesn't mean you can't like actually care. Like there, like because there's a difference. Like, I'm not going to go hang out and drink bourbon and whatever. I mean, maybe we'll go bowling or something. But like, we're not going to go like hang out like we're best friends. But like I can still like show appreciation. I can still go and like ask you how's your daughter doing. Like like things like that you can still kind of show that you actually care, but without crossing the line.
Well, you see, I haven't gotten that opportunity yet because everybody who works with me has either worked with me in the past or has been a friend of mine, or if I used a service of theirs in the past to where it works out. So I haven't had like a perfect stranger, if you will, right? Because so I don't know, because these people are people who I've kind of come up with, right? Like my first paralegal, like we could go to the bar. And then, you ready to go back to work? Yes, absolutely. And so like we have that good balance of we can go party on the weekend, we can come back, be serious about work, like it never happened. We don't care about it, we're not talking about it, and we move on. But I think there's only certain people that you can be like that with.
Yeah, I would agree with that because as long as you can still be real with them and
and the work gets done.
And so it's funny. So my wife is our COO.
Oh, cool.
And employees will kind of like, they'll be so surprised because I treat her like an actual employee, right?
Yeah.
When we talk, and so we kind of we were joking not too long ago about this. She and I were, but it's like when we'll kind of butt heads, but like the same way I would butt heads with any other employees, like because we're very open about disagreeing about stuff. It's like being disagreeable is important.
Yes.
And so, but like in a not in a negative way, right?
Yeah.
But people are surprised when they see that I speak to her the exact same way that I would speak to anybody else in the firm.
Yeah.
And that's how you have to be.
Exactly like that.
With even the employees that you might be a friend of yours.
Right.
You have to be the same way, because if the other employees sense that you're treating them differently, then that's going to create a problem.
Exactly. And that was the thing I never wanted. And I always heard about, don't hire friends. And so I was always nervous about that. But then I'm also nervous about hiring a perfect stranger who I don't know their track record or their work ethic or whatever. So it's such a learning experience. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all like plays out. But right now, that's my A team, and they're rocking and rolling.
That's awesome.
I'm loving it.
I like the excitement that you have. I think you're at such an exciting part.
Yes.
Where like you're within the first year, you're in the first 6 months.
Yeah.
I guess you're just over 6 months.
Yeah.
Over that, but like it's a cool. really exciting time.
It's fun. Yeah.
That is really incredible.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you thought, like, did you have some sort of idea about how things were going to be before you started that you realized now it's not quite that way?
So in one way, I just was afraid of like, where is the money going to come from?
Yeah.
Like that was the number one thing. I just had no idea of what to do, how to do it, whatever. And so it's just odd. As soon as you say you're open, like people know about it and it just comes. And of course you have to do the Google stuff. You have to do SEO and everything. So I think that one, it's like if fear is holding anyone back type of thing from starting it, just realizing like once you get it started, the money will come. Of course you have to put the work in. You have to show up every day, but still, you have to do good work. But so I think that was the first one. And then the other like misconception I had, well, no, I really think that was it. Like I was just terrified. I didn't want to start it because I was like, I don't want to be broke. I enjoy making money. I'm like a senior attorney. There's no reason for me to.
That's where it's tough. Like someone that's worked for a little bit,
and
then they're making good money, and then you go and you're like, I don't know if I want to take this.
Yeah,
take this lead.
And then it's a pay cut for myself personally. However, I know what it could look like in the future, and in my head, this grand vision.
It's important.
Yeah, and I think that was really it. Outside of like having a meeting place in person, I always knew I'm a dog mom. So if you couldn't tell as much as I'm talking about dogs these days, but so I always wanted a place that I knew like it could be pet friendly, and then being on the Beltline in Atlanta is so huge because that's the place that I always would go with my dogs or just walk for exercise. There's just good foot traffic. So I feel like I wasn't expecting to have that kind of space so soon, but we have had more clients want to meet in person, and so it has worked out.
So you mentioned fear. Do you have any fear that AI might destroy the estate planning part of the firm?
Absolutely not. It can only enhance it, I feel.
Interesting. Okay. I love this.
Yeah.
So tell me more.
Well, because one, everybody wants what they want quickly, right? And if we can do a quick turnaround time for our clients by utilizing AI, so like we have Wealth Counsel and LexisNexis, and so anytime we can do anything that's going to help make it production faster, and more seamless, that's something I think that's a benefit to our clients.
So let me tell you my concern about estate planning specifically,
Mhm.
and tell me where I'm missing.
Okay.
And I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I think there are certain areas of law that they're not going to be touched by AI. Well,
Mhm.
they'll be touched by AI, but it's not going to replace it. Like AI is not going to replace a trial lawyer. They're just not. Like, it's not going to replace family law. It's not going to
No, because
replace
there's too many
litigation. Yeah.
nuances.
But I mean, AI might create enough autonomous vehicles where there's no car crashes, so that might happen. And I mean, in the future, it might happen.
If it happens, it happens.
But
I still don't want to be in one. But
with estate planning,
Yeah.
I could totally, because we're working with AI agents now,
Mhm.
and I could totally see building an AI agent that can communicate directly with a potential client,
Mhm.
and then building out whatever package they need
Mhm.
at a fraction of a cost and time and cost of like a human.
Yeah, I mean, they already got that with like Rocket Lawyer and all these other things to a degree. And I just think no matter what, like if you're the type of person who wants to double check and make sure that it's right, unless it said it's been reviewed and approved by a lawyer, I'm not going to use that document. So I think that there are people who are, of course, there's always going to be people who want the easiest route, the cheapest route, but it's not always going to be the best.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to bring prices down?
I don't know. I've kept my prices pretty relatively like low for estate planning because I think that it's more welcoming for people. I think more people should get it anyways. And it's always, you can always update it. Probably. I think some of the prices probably should be down.
Yeah. What I'm hoping is, because I mean, the percentage of people that actually have any sort of estate plan is like, it's low.
Most people I don't know. Yeah, most people I know don't have one. And I think that that's unacceptable.
Yeah, so maybe what might happen is that it gives access to those people that wouldn't ordinarily get it,
True.
where they would get it. But I don't know. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't affect the estate planning industry at all, other than it makes your jobs easier. And the people that would hire an AI agent are now going to hire a lawyer anyways. And the people that are going to hire a lawyer are always going to hire a lawyer. So
right. And and like I said, people who are always just going to go grab some documents really quickly and just hope it applies to them and works out and hope that they got everything covered, they'll do that. But I hope that people will still get a lawyer to at least look over it.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so for lawyers in general, because it is nice having a lawyer with a brain.
Yeah,
actually look over
just double check. Hey, the law may have just changed or it's about to change. Like, right. I don't know, because sometimes AI can't do the future situations like that. So who knows?
Absolutely. Yep. So if you could sit down with your younger self before starting the firm.
Oh, don't make me cry.
Okay. So I won't. I will, hopefully not.
Okay.
What would you tell her about the reality of building something from the ground up?
Oh, man, it is extremely tough. And you've got to have a really great support system around you. And you've got to have people who help keep you grounded, people who not only keep you accountable, but allow themselves to be kept accountable.
Accountability. How is that something? How are you able to keep yourself accountable, and how are you able to keep the team accountable?
So part of that is just being transparent with what my schedule looks like, with what my block schedule, the time blocking situation, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, if I'm actually taking a break, because yes, I need to breathe, or go to a Pilates class, or if I'm doing deep work where I'm doing legal research and I can't be distracted. And so that way they see every single day what I'm doing for them and for the firm. And then on the other side of it, hearing them out, my team members, if they have any questions, concerns, making sure that when they submit documents for me to review, because I've tasked them with all these things to do, that I get it to them, within minutes, if not at least within 24 hours. So that way they see how serious I am and how much I appreciate the work that they do. And then we can all stay on top of that to be accountable to the client, to make sure that we're ahead of deadlines and things like that.
You mentioned deep work. Cal Newport wrote the book Deep Work. And have you read, since you mentioned, I've got to ask it because it's my favorite book. Have you read A World Without Email?
No.
Okay, you should check it out.
Okay.
It will change the way you view work.
Okay.
If it doesn't, you didn't read it.
No, I need to.
It really is, because it's by Cal Newport and the importance of importance of deep work. But then he then analyzes it's called A World Without Email, but he then reanalyzes like what work should actually look like, and reconfiguring schedules and everything. It's quite interesting. That's the main reason why we reconfigured our case management system and why we use now office hours instead of like letting people communicate throughout the day. So there's all these different things that we did that have made
yeah,
like
a
created
world without email.
yeah, world
Okay,
without
I need to-
massive efficiencies. So it's really nice.
Fantastic. Yeah, efficiency is our word,
Yeah.
of course. So yeah.
Were there any, before you started the firm, were there any moments of self-doubt that you had?
Oh yeah.
Tell me about those.
I only just recently, I feel like, got over that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Right. Like like I said, I'd been barred 5 years. So that already, is kind of like a mark against me, if you will, because people are just like, oh, okay, well, she just hasn't been doing it for 20 plus years. However, I've been working with these 20 plus years attorneys or against them or whatnot this entire time. And I also have the 5 years prior experience, in the legal world and in the field in general. So I think feeling like I was going to need to prove myself and then also making sure that I had enough time to continue to stay up on what the laws are doing, what's changing, how I can best advocate for my clients. So certainly doubt because you just see other people doing it. Everybody who I've known who started a firm, either they did it like right out of law school and I thought they were crazy, or, they've been doing it for 20 years.
Right.
But, everyone has to get started somewhere. And I feel like I was just a perfectionist, of course, right? I want to get it right. I want to get it right the first time. I want to do so well, and I also don't want to do any disservice to my clients.
Did anyone ever openly doubt you or tell you that you shouldn't do it?
I don't think so. Which is a great thing, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I almost was waiting for someone to, so then I could be like, yeah, that makes sense. I shouldn't do it.
Yeah. What would you say to them if they had?
Honestly, it's more so going to be like okay, cool, I'm going to prove you wrong probably too. So it depends. It depended on who it is, right? If it was my husband, then I might be like, you know what, you're right. Let's
Ouch.
not.
Yeah,
let's not do it. But former bosses, it's like, okay, I'll see you on the other side.
I wish you would say it. That's right.
I'll see you. Yeah. Thankfully, I have great relationships with all of them, after leaving in my mind.
Yeah, I once had a boss. It was the first firm I worked for out of law school. He told me, because I didn't come in on the day after Thanksgiving and on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, that he didn't think I had what it would take to be a lawyer. And I was like, I've revisited. I do it less often because I don't think it's not wise or good to hold on to that poison. But I will sometimes revisit that and
get that fire going a little bit.
That's right, because it's like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes that fire's a little good.
No, for sure. Yeah. And I also think it was just kind of like thinking back to why I wanted it to be virtual and why I wanted to start my own thing, because people are working 9 to 5. I actually, before COVID, I don't remember like how everyone did it.
Yeah, it was like a weird reset that like the old world and the new world are different.
Yeah, so then you go to work
was.
every day.
Yeah.
So you tell me you go to work every day. Then you come home and then you're like feeding the dogs, feeding the kids, whatever, getting the kids off the school bus, doing homework. God, and then bedtime. That sounds insane and tough. And then, so for me, I wanted my team to be able to actually have, like, we do half-day Fridays. And I mean that. Like, we only work half day. Y'all need to get your doctor's appointment scheduled or do whatever. And if you need to actually switch it, because some doctors are not even open on Fridays, which is good for them, but, like, bad for other people. It's like, cool, then you can switch your schedule around if you need to go on Monday or whatever, because we have a flexible schedule because we're virtual. So I expect that you're going to get your work done daily within the hours that you need to get them done. So if that means you're working 3 a.m. to, 6 a.m., that's fine by me. I don't care as long as the tasks are completed. And I think that giving people, like being able to give people that type of work environment is really important to me, because I felt like that's how I thrive. And I think that that's how the firm can thrive, because the people who are working there are taken care of, like head to toe, you know what I mean? Like all over.
Yeah, so that's why we went to a 4-day work week, and it was it's
amazing.
Really nice.
Monday through Thursday, I'm assuming. Or
well, they're rotating on teams, so it depends on what team you're on.
Okay,
and they flip. So like every time it flips, it's funny because one of the teams will get a 4-day work week and they love it. So every team ends up getting like a couple 4-day work weeks.
Okay,
at least I think it's like a year.
Okay.
So every month it flips. And so it's either Monday or Friday.
Okay,
and
nice.
So we want to make sure that we have full coverage from Tuesday to Thursday. So and then Monday, Friday we have a smaller crew.
Yeah, and
people love it. I think if I said we were going back to 5 days, they would quit. I think people would absolutely quit.
Have to. I don't know how people live. Yeah.
How do you balance creating like a good work culture and then also but making sure that people are getting their jobs done?
I think it just comes back to when I was saying how being the worker bee, and then also how I came up in the legal field from being a legal intern, legal assistant, and then the attorney.
Yeah.
I've got to see every aspect of what it means to work in a law firm. And then I know how I push myself in those roles. And so I just do my best to try to provide my team members everything they need to succeed in their roles. And if they suggest something else, we want to incorporate that, let them know that I actually hear them. And if we can do it, great. If we can't do it, explain why. I think that that's sometimes where people fail, where they just like hear it. They're like, I'm busy, and they're moving on. And then it's never acknowledged. People don't understand. There may be some resentment building up. So I've always seen the entrepreneur side of it or the boss side of it from the worker's perspective. I've never run a firm before. I've never run a business before. So this is where I'm saying, like, I'm having to get better at delegating. I'm having to get better at certain boundaries that I know that I'm going to have or have set. But it's fun learning. And thankfully, most people, if you will, like stay in their lane. Like most people aren't trying to do anything extra. They're just happy to do the work they're doing. If I ask them to do anything more, they will. They show up. And if they don't show up, we have a talk about that.
Sure.
Hi, what's happening? Because
so do you have? Because I'm sure that people are listening to this, and we've had several remote firms on, and you may have the most energy out of all of them. I'll tell you that it's great. But I know a big question we get from a lot of people, and I'm sure the people are listening right now wondering the same thing is, like, how do you know, like, that Sally Joe is not, shopping all day? How do you know that she's, not, hopefully you don't have a Sally Joe at your firm, but, that would be really funny if you did.
Yeah, no Sally Joes.
Yeah. But like, how do you make sure that they're doing the things that you expected?
Yeah, and I think that that's where task lists come into play, having some sort of case management system or tracking situation, even if you don't have a case management system like Asana or Trello or Monday or whatever, just anything that you can keep track of tasks with. Because for me, it's always about showing your work. And so I'm not going to run you down, but I would like for you to not only check off completion whenever you've completed a task or put notes in, put the time entry in. We are a flat fee firm, so we don't bill our clients, but I still want to see the work being done.
Sure.
So that helps them a lot. It helps both of us stay accountable on all sides.
Yeah, I frankly don't care as long as they're hitting their targets. I don't care. Like if they, they're adults, right? And
right.
If they're hitting their targets that we've set for them,
right.
And if they need to take 15 minutes to go shop on Amazon,
I'm like, absolutely go. Yeah, I hope you got something good. And was there a good deal? It's like, let me know.
Because it's just interesting to me. There will be attorneys that are listening to this, and they get on Amazon themselves, right?
Oh.
And they'll say, "Well, I'm paying the bills." Well, let's be reasonable here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
everybody's working.
Exactly. If they're working, if they're hitting their targets, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't care.
Absolutely,
you really shouldn't.
That's exactly how I feel about it, and I don't want to give them extra pressure. So we actually don't have like target goals, if you will. Our stuff is task based because we're not billable. But even still, like I've been able to see the work being done, and if I have seen that someone's been ghost for a minute, or if I do periodically check, because of course I got to check the time entries. I've got to see what people are doing or the completion of tasks. And if I see that there's something lacking, then I'll talk to the person about it. But
yeah, I think that's definitely the right approach. Like talk to the person, like actually talk to the person. Don't send them a message, actually call them, and actually speak to them. So a few more questions, and then I'll have you out of here.
Gosh, holding me hostage.
You're doing great. I love it. So people seem to buy into the person before they're actually going to buy into the product or the service, right? And I wonder, I guess, what is it about you that you want clients to buy into?
Oh, I guess kind of that, like, I actually do really care. I think when people understand that the person who is serving them, whether or not, like depending on the field they're in, that they actually care not only about the quality of work that they do and provide, but in the quality of service, but as about the person in general. Because, again, it's so easy to think, okay, they're just in it for the money, or, okay, this is just another case to them, another number. And for me and my team, especially, like, we do really take the time to get to know our people, to engage with them, to, send them a gift or send them, get well or whatever it may be, because we want to make sure that the person who had to come to us and who had to like break down and, if they're getting to the point of having to contact us, something most likely went wrong.
Sure.
Or they're in preparation for something, which is fine. But I think that it's important, especially in this field, to actually genuinely, personally care.
Last question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it is January 1st of 2027.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
What does the firm look like at that time?
So, well, we're a multi-million-dollar firm, for one. And I think we're still going to definitely be virtual. I still want to hone into that. Now, whether or not we get other satellite kind of bases for in-person client meetings, that might be something that comes, might be something that comes with different team members in those positions, throughout the state. So we'll see. We've been getting a lot of people from Savannah, Georgia, and Macon, and further south where I'm from. So that's been pretty cool to see. And that's where I put my first billboard, right across the street from Waycross College, where I went, So I just feel like I think the firm definitely is going to grow, and people are really going to see the Georgia Peach Attorney like throughout Georgia. I hope that we can have more community events, not only in the metro Atlanta area, but in those same places kind of that I named, Dalton also being one of the places. So not only can I engage with my initial community who helped give me the courage to even start my own firm or who's sending, clients to me, but also for us to just give back to those communities and make sure that they have resources that they need.
So what's the number one thing you need to focus on between now and then to make sure that you hit that target?
Oh, it's certainly still on the marketing side of things. And then also, like, when it comes to our clients, like providing great service for them and then kind of closing their cases out quickly, I think, or quicker, as quickly as we can, I think that definitely helps because it gives an overall good client experience, and then they're more likely to recommend people.
Alycia, thanks for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. And thanks for bringing the energy. I needed it.
Yes, of course. Awesome. Happy to be here. Awesome. Have a good one.
You too.